Today we're going to talk about how we can create autonomous agents in Copilot Studio. And the demo of today is taken from the Copilot Dev Camp. I will tell you more about Copilot Dev Camp later, but now I want to focus on the main topic of this demo. So let's understand what an autonomous agent is and why we should need to know how to create such kind of agents. Well, an autonomous agent is an agent that can be invoked by a trigger, and the trigger can be just a recurrent trigger, so you can set a schedule, or can be a trigger based, for example, or an item created in SharePoint Online, or on a file created in SharePoint Online or OneDrive for Business, or many more options like a task completed in Planner, or a new response submitted in a Microsoft Forms, and so on and so forth. So plenty of options to trigger an agent and let the intelligence behind the scene of an agent process the content of the event that triggered the agent itself. You can even have multiple triggers on the same agent if you want to have a really smart agent reacting to multiple different event triggers. So when you work with autonomous agents, what happens is that you first of all need to have the generative orchestrator enabled. Nowadays, it is enabled by default, but just in case, always double check that it is enabled in your agent. And when you have the trigger waking up your agent, you can choose if you want to send a specific and customized setup for the payload from the trigger to the agent, or if you can simply rely on the out-of-the-box predefined payload that every different kind of trigger will provide to your agent. Behind the scenes of your autonomous agents, you have a Power Automate flow. So, long story short, there is a triggered Power Automate, which will then trigger the agent in Copilot Studio and will make the magic happen. Important things to know and some common use cases before moving to the actual demo. Some use cases could be, for example, that you want to create a support request agent, and whenever there is a new support request email sent to a specific email address, you want to trigger an agent and make the agent try to give a proper answer to the user without waiting for a real human being, or you can escalate to operator in case the agent is not able to provide a proper answer to the user. Because remember, the artificial intelligence is here to help, but still we need human beings. Or could be a quote request handling agent, just to give you yet another idea. So you get an email for a quote, and you can use, for example, an MCP, so Model Context Protocol server, that you can use to read a list of products in a product catalog, and you can create on the fly an email with a quote based on the information you have in the external system, and so on and so forth. You can do automated document processing. So whenever there is a new document in SharePoint Online, you do something, which is precisely the demo we are going to see today, or many more options. But regardless what you do when you create an autonomous agent, it is important to know that currently, the autonomous agents work with the agent's author's credentials when it comes to accessing data and information that trigger the agent itself. So be careful when working with sensitive data, because the agent triggered by the external event will have access to the resources and to the information and data that the author of the agent can access. Moreover, in case of any missing information or data while processing autonomously the request triggered by the event trigger, you need to know that the autonomous agent cannot complete the task itself. So if there is a scenario where you trigger the agent and then you want to do something and you need some input from the user, well, you will need to design your agent accordingly, because the autonomous agent cannot give an answer on behalf of a specific user. And so you need to properly and carefully design your autonomous agents. And in order to have your agents capable of processing autonomously any event that you configure, you will need to publish the agent so that it will start processing any event trigger. Last but not least, there is one setting that you need to configure for your environment, which is the solution-aware Cloudflow sharing, which must be turned on in order to have the capability to use autonomous agents. And in the useful links that I already shared in the chat at the beginning of this demo, and that you will find also, I guess, in the description of the video when you will see the recorded video, you can find additional information and overview content about the event triggers for Copilot Studio autonomous agents. But now let's move to the actual demo. Let me show you how you can create an autonomous agent and how an autonomous agent works. So let me switch to the demo environment. And here, first of all, you see the lab I'm referring to while delivering this demo today. And this is the lab that we have in the Copilot developer camp, which is a set of labs and training materials and videos that we make available for the community, so that if you want to dig into how to create agents for Microsoft 365 Copilot, whether you're a maker or a developer, you can find the useful information there, and you can learn how to do stuff. And our main point of view in the Copilot developer camp, as you can argue from the name, is the point of view of the developer. And that's why, for example, even in this lab, we are talking about autonomous agents. But in this sample agent, we are also going to rely on an MCP server, and we also provide you the source code in C# for the MCP server, so that you can learn how to create an autonomous agent, how to consume an MCP server, but also how to create your own MCP server if you like, and if you are a developer. So in this lab, you can see you can create an agent which is an autonomous HR docs processor. So let me briefly show you this agent in action, and then we will build it together. So this agent is an agent that has been designed to process PDF resume documents uploaded in a target SharePoint Online document library. So first of all, you will have to create a document library in SharePoint Online, which will be the target for uploading your documents. And then you can configure your agent to process those documents. In the instructions of the agent, I decided to say that, okay, you are an autonomous HR assistant that specializes in processing candidate data from PDF documents. When a new PDF file is uploaded to SharePoint Online document library, you automatically extract information from the PDF content, validate the structure, create a new candidate, you see, using an add candidate tool of the HR MCP server. What is that? Well, in this agent, I configured under tools an MCP server, which we created, that you can find with the whole source code. And in this MCP server, if I will dig into it, you can see that we have a set of tools, including one called add_candidate. So when I say in the instructions, create a new candidate using the add candidate tool of the HR MCP server, I'm instructing the agent to autonomously invoke that specific tool of my MCP server. Then I say provide confirmation of successful processing. And since it is an autonomous agent and I'm not interactively using it when it is processing the uploaded documents, I need to know that something happened. So I say, okay, send me an email with confirmation that the new candidate record was created and with a recap of candidates data. And again, this instruction for the agent becomes the invocation of the tool email management MCP server, in which we have a tool to send an email on behalf of the connected user, which is my user, the user who is designing this Copilot Studio agent right now. And as you can see, we have the send email tool available in this MCP server. So we have an autonomous agent, and we have a couple of MCP servers configured. One is out of the box. The other one is a custom one that we can create using .NET. Then I also say in the instruction that it is important to not wait for any user input, because as I told you, the agent cannot do that. And do not invent anything, and you must only process real and existing data. So this is the imprinting, the set of instructions that I give to my agent. If we want to see the agent in action before digging into the trigger, Let's do that. Let me first of all double check that my HR MCP server is up and running, and looks like it is, as well as the dev tunnel that I have locally so that I can run it on my local machine. So I can upload a resume document, for example, Anthony Ivanov. And by uploading this PDF document, in a matter of a few seconds, within up to 1 minute, the Power Automate flow backing my autonomous agent will be triggered. So I can show you here that we have a Power Automate flow, and I can refresh here the list, the history of executions, and see if we are processing our request. Not yet. We need to wait a few more seconds. Let's see. And as soon as the flow will process the trigger and will wake up my agent, I will get the candidate added to the list of my candidates in the hypothetical list of candidates in my HR. And now we see we have the processing which succeeded. And now I can go to my agent, to the user experience of my agent while waiting for the email. And you see I've just got an email. And I can say list all of the candidates. By doing that, I will be able to see that in the list of candidates, I have one candidate which is matching the item that I uploaded in SharePoint Online. And in fact, here we can see we have a list of fake candidates, including Anthony Ivanov, with this email, with this current role, skills, and language. And if we look into the PDF file that I uploaded, we can clearly see that that's the email address of the candidate, this is the role and stuff like that. So the AI agent was able to extract the information from the PDF and to feed the database of candidates of my hypothetical HR system. And I also got an email with the confirmation that the new candidate, Anthony Ivanov, with this email, with this role, and so on and so forth, was created inside my HR system. And of course, we can also see that we have got a call invocation of the MCP tool to insert the new item. So how can you create such an agent on your side? Well, whenever you want to create an agent which is an autonomous one, you simply need to go to the agent itself and enable the generative AI orchestration, as I was telling you. Then you can choose whatever model you like. Nowadays in Copilot Studio, you can choose if you want to use GPT-4.1, GPT-5 in different flavors, and there are also other options available depending on your tenant configuration. Here, I decided to use GPT-5 chat. And then in the triggers and channels, you can add a new trigger. And once you do that, you simply need to select the kind of trigger you want to use. And as you can see here, you can see the list of available to retrieve all of the properties of any file which will be created in SharePoint Online. And whenever there will be a new file created in a specific folder that I can configure, I will get my agent trigger. So let's do that just to show you how I configure the trigger that I already have in this agent. By doing so, I need to connect to the target SharePoint Online environment. And it takes a while, and now I need to confirm that I want to effectively connect to the SharePoint with specific permissions that will be needed to get access to the file created. I can give whatever name I like to my trigger. And then here it comes the page through which I can configure the actual document library that I want to use to trigger the agent whenever there is a new document. So here I can select a site and I can browse for the site that I was using before. Then once I've selected the site, I can choose what is the library. For example, for me, it's candidates data. I can select a specific folder, or I can just target any folder in the library. I can select a specific view if I want to just retrieve a predefined set of fields for the agent. And then I can say that whenever there is a new document in the target library, I want to provide additional, if I want, I can provide additional instructions to the agent based on the actual content of the trigger. And this is the payload I was talking about before. It can be the default one like it is right now, so just use the content from the body of the message coming in from SharePoint, or I can even extend the instructions. For example, I can say, and read content of the PDF file, which is precisely what I did in my agent, so that I'm instructing the Copilot Studio agent to not only get the metadata of the document, but also to read the actual content of the PDF file, so that then the agent can process that content and extract the information I'm looking for. Once you're done, you create the trigger, and you will be able to have your trigger listed here in triggers and channels. Once you are ready, the very first thing you should do is to test your trigger. So you go here to this nice icon, you select test trigger, and you will be able to see the most recently processed or received documents in the target document library. Now I just processed the document of Anthony Ivanov. So let me upload, actually, no, if I will upload another document, still it will trigger the agent. So let's just use the last one and start testing on this one. Of course, this item has been already inserted in the database. So we will see that this document was already processed, but doesn't really matter. Now I was able to select the document for testing purposes. We can see that the agent initialized both the MCP server for the mail and the MCP server for HR, and defined to use the add candidate tool to insert the new candidate. As you can see, here we invoked the insertion request, providing the data that was extracted automatically by the agent by GPT-5 chat from the PDF document. And then I send the email with the confirmation and with all of the details about the candidate. As we can see, we also see that the item was not really added because it was already there, but that's just because I executed one more time the same trigger as before with the same document, and as such, clearly the candidate is already in the HR database, but doesn't really matter. This was just to show you what you can do. And one more thing, when you are in the agent that you created as an autonomous agent, you can always go back to the trigger, and by selecting the three dots, you can edit the Power Automate flow, as I was showing you before, and you will be brought to the actual Power Automate flow, and we can edit it and see what's inside. We can see that it's a very, very simple one, where we simply have the trigger for the Power Automate flow, and then we have an action which will do the actual wake up, the actual triggering of the agent in Copilot Studio. And here we can specify the setup of the payload as we did before. Okay, so really simple and straightforward, also from an architectural perspective. So you can do monitoring of the Power Automate flow from the regular interface of Power Automate, as well as, if you like, you can also have a look at the activity tab of the agent and see what's going on there in the agent itself, up to you. So once you are done, you go to channels, you select a channel, you publish the agent with a specific channel if you want to have also an interactive experience like the one I showed you to list the candidates or to do stuff with the candidates. And once your agent is published and available, it will start processing any new event targeting the trigger that you configured. One important thing I already told you at the beginning, but since the autonomous agents access content under the identity of the user who designed, who created the autonomous agents. So for example, I access the document library of the resumes with the identity of my own user that I used to design this agent. We have a set of alerts or warnings from Copilot Studio whenever we publish the agent, so that we are aware of this specific situation and we know what to do, and we get some warnings accordingly to that in the UI of Copilot Studio. So don't get scared. This is just to let you know that there are some specific settings in place, and you need to be aware of that so that you can design your agent carefully, as I told you before. So that said, let me switch briefly back to the slide deck so that we can close up. And as I was telling you, this demo is part of the Copilot Developer Camp, which is a set of workshops and training materials. We deliver in-person training events around the globe with the Copilot Dev Camp, and we also make the training content available online. It targets makers and developers, mainly with the developer point of view, so that you can focus more on the developer side of the story. But you can choose your pathway. You can decide to build an agent with Copilot Studio, or to create declarative agents, or to create custom engine agents, depending on the target and on the functionalities that you want to leverage. And since there are plenty of options available, we try to help you find the right way of achieving your goal. And that's why we also provide this map that you can use to navigate across all of the options, finding what is the best one that fits your needs. So that said, a couple of links: the developer camp, the lab we have just seen, and the overview page of the Copilot Studio event triggers if you want to dig more into the topic that I just shared with you. And that said, I think that's all for me. Thank you, and back to you, Vesa.